We kick things off on a shady note with a rather steamy moment in the middle of the night, as a cute girl named Missu was with her master Ran, who also happens to be our hero. Normally, it would not make sense for an idle girl like Missu to be with Ran, and he knows this much better than we do. However, it will take him a lot of time to explain how this happened, so we are taken to a flashback to a few days ago. We see that Ran was in class thinking about how much time was left for homeroom sessions to get over. The other students in the class were all talking to each other but not with Ran, which made him think that it was hard being a loner. After all, he felt like a loser because he did not have anyone to talk to. On top of that, he did not have a girlfriend, which made it even harder for him to gain popularity. At that very moment, Missu entered the room and greeted everyone, which led the boys to also wish her a good morning. She was almost late to class, so the other students asked why this was the case. She said that she was just helping out her friend named Kenami, who agreed that Missu was waiting for her. We learned that Missu loved to use the Mew word, which made her like a cat girl. This is every boy's fantasy, so it came as no surprise that Missu was super popular in class. Our hero was looking at Missu with dreamy eyes because she was looking very cute that day. Of course, he also looked away because he felt that he should not be staring at her like a creep. After all, heroes are not meant to act this way. Such a shady stare might have given Missu the wrong impression, but there was no time for Ran to think about such things. Suddenly, a massive flash of light entered the room, and there was no sign of the other students even though only a few seconds had passed after the incident. When the light faded away, our hero was taken to an empty space where he was on the floor with no clue as to how he got there. Ran looked around for a bit and then he found some delicate and attractive clothes in front of him. He did not know how to react to this at first, but then he learned that they belonged to none other than Missu herself. Ran could not believe what was in front of his eyes, as it was not just the clothes, but also the cat girl herself. Luckily, Missu was not awake to see his intrusive thoughts in action, so Ran tried his best to wake her up. He managed to get the job done, and as expected, Missu was surprised to see him in front of her. She also had the same questions as him, but they did not have any answers at that moment. All that Ran and Missu could remember was that a giant flash of light entered the room and enveloped the entire class along with them. There was nothing more to recall, but then the two of them could suddenly see that all the other students of the class were also there with them. Slowly, all of these students started to wake up and try to figure where they had been taken to. Missu asked them if they were all fine, and she said Mew at the end of her sentence again. Of course, hearing something as sweet as this was more than enough to bring all the boys to their senses. At that very moment, one of the handsome boys of the class got up and asked Missu if she was fine. She told him that she was not hurt, and then it was shown that all of the kids were in some kind of dungeon. This was very creepy for them, but then they heard a voice calling out to His Majesty, telling him to visit the summoning room. Suddenly, a weak old man entered the dungeon, and he looked as if he did not sleep for a very long time. Even his guards warned him against not taking rest, but he said he was fine. The king then looked at all the students in the dungeon and he appeared to be scary. However, he then said that his country was under attack by the demon lord. He confessed that he and his men tried their best to defeat the enemy, but all of their plans had failed, which meant that he had no other option but to summon heroes from another world. This meant that Ran and his classmates were all the chosen heroes for this world, and they were called the Holy Saints. The king then continued by saying the Holy Saints would be taught some new skills and trained on how to use their powers to defeat the demon lord. However, the handsome boy did not like this kind of talk, so he told the king to shut his mouth. He said that he and his classmates had been kidnapped by the king and his men, so they had to send them back home. This was not working on the king, so an otaku boy named Aichi said that even if they were summoned here, it was not like they were superheroes. The kids in front of him were just normal people, so Aichi did not feel that they would be able to fight a demon lord for him. The king realized what the otaku boy was telling him, so he decided to explain the situation a bit more. Basically, each of the holy saints was blessed with a special power to help them fight the demon lord. This made Ichi very happy because he could use the cheat ability like he had seen in his favorite manga and anime. The other girls found this creepy because Ichi liked to watch shady content. Ichi was not able to control his excitement any longer, so he decided to use his ability to learn what power he had been granted. He struck a pose, but then he learned that he was only given the appraisal scan skill. As expected, he was very upset to learn this because he was given a very plain ability. The other students did not care about Ichi, but then it was their turn to learn more about their own powers. That was when it was revealed that the handsome boy's name was Tereo, who would then go on to learn that his skill was Fong transformation. Missu got some kind of power that was known as Schwartz energy, but she was happy with this as she did not get any weird skills. Another boy named Takeo got the skill Mirror Force, but he got upset because this was only a defensive power. A girl named Miko got infinite mana, Missu's friend Kenami got the sword skill known as Fate Divider, and the last girl called Saki got Photon Punishment, which sounded like a cool skill. However, the real shocker came when our hero Ran got the skill of a shady lunatic, which meant that he had the power to make any girl do unspeakable things to him. As expected, the others were a bit confused by this, and the girls even called him a creep for having such a skill. The otaku boy Ichi made sure to make fun of Ran by saying he had a very lewd ability. He then used his appraisal skill to see that Ran could indeed make any girl his slave by simply touching them. He felt that it was still fine to have a skill not suited to combat like his own ability, but for Ran to be able to even make holy saints his slaves was a bit too much. Of course, it was not like our hero wanted such a skill in the first place, so he asked Ichi to stop messing around with him. However, the otaku boy did not want to stop there, so he told everyone that there was no chance nothing would happen if a teenage boy like Ran had such a shady skill. Naturally, Ran felt that Ichi was going to convince the others that he was a threat to their innocence. After all, the otaku boy did make sense with his logic. At this rate, our hero was sure to be kicked out of the group, and then Tereo decided to speak up. Seeing him made Ran a bit hopeful because if he had taken his side, then he would be able to keep him in the squad. However, that was not the case as he asked our hero to leave the class instantly, much to his dismay. Ran was confused at first, but then Tereo said that if he was able to make girls his slaves just by touching them, then the other girls would not feel safe around him. It took Ran a moment, but he soon realized that Tereo might have become jealous of him. This was because his skill could allow him to steal Missu from him, whom he had a crush on. This was why Torai tried to make our hero look like scum in front of the other girls, which was a shameless thing to do. After all, he did not need to say such a thing out in the open with everyone listening. Ran was not the type to just stand in there and listen, so he started walking away and said that if this was really how the class felt about him, then he would get out of here as soon as possible. Nobody said anything to him, showing how they never cared about Ran in the first place. Then came night time, which meant that the holy saints got to eat dinner and celebrate their arrival with the people of this world. The normal saints mentioned that there were 20 heroes who were brought here, so Tereo decided to mock Ran once again by stating it was hilarious how he was still being seen as one of them. Missu did not feel the same way, and was wondering how Ran must have been doing on his own. However, the normal saints said that it did not matter how the others treated him, as he was still under their protection. The main focus as of then was to get done with their training so that they could become stronger and defeat the demon lord. Ichi became a bit worried after hearing this, so he asked what kind of training a fat boy like him would have to go through. This was when the team was told that they would be receiving intensive training on magic and other skills from the next day onwards in order to maximize their powers. Saki was excited to hear this because she was wanting to use magic for a long time. At that moment, she was asked where Missu had gone, so she said that she went to powder her nose or do other girly things. Then, we moved out of the main palace to the night setting where Missu was seen trying to find the rest room. She did not know why she came here in the first place because there was no rest room or even any people. Suddenly, a butterfly showed up in front of her and sparkled. So she got distracted by such a pretty sight in the middle of the night. She decided to follow the butterfly out in the courtyard till she came to a garden area. Missu could see that the area was very wide and no one was around, so she felt confident that she would not be seen. She decided to let loose over here because she could not hold it in any longer. However, just as Missu was about to begin, the butterfly flew into someone's arms and he thanked it for leading Missu here, even giving it the name Uchiha. Missu got scared upon hearing this, and it turned out to be our hero Ran who was waiting for her in the garden area. He said sorry to her because he did not expect to target her while she was relieving herself. Of course, Missu felt shy, so she asked him to look the other way while she did her business. Of course, Ran's intrusive thoughts got the better of him, so he did not wait any longer and simply bowed down to reach her level. He then touched her cheek and looked into her eyes with a gaze of charm. Ran activated his shady powers and started to cast his spell over Missu, which was working on her. She did not know what kind of feeling this was, but it was starting to take control of her body till she could not hold it anymore. She told Ran that if he held on to her any longer, then she would not be able to control herself. However, he did not stop and made sure to watch her as she showed a side of herself that a girl should not have shown to a boy at that time. Ran wondered if this was the effect of his skill, but then he realized that it could have been another reason as well. Missu could not stop doing what she was doing as it felt too good for her. She even said mew a few times and wondered what was going to happen next. That was when Ran decided to act on his intrusive thoughts, and he told Missu that she was going to become his familiar. This seemed to have done the trick on her, and she could not stop feeling love for Ran after that. Missu felt that she had shown such an embarrassing side of herself to him, but she was still feeling excited. This meant that she might have fallen in love with him, even though it was known that he had the shady skill. Ran then asked her if she liked it when a boy had his way with her, and she revealed that it was her secret desire to do so. This was all that Ran needed to hear, and then he told Missu that he would also have his way with her. She basically begged him to do it, and what followed was an intense session. The couple shifted to a nearby bench and Ran could see that Missu's familiar level was increasing with each passing second. He did not know that there was such a way to measure the levels of his familiars, but then he realized that Missu was looking much better to him now that her level had increased. He wondered if it was really okay for him to do such a shady thing, but then he saw what no man had ever seen before, so he lost track of his thoughts. He could see that Missu had a clean spot, so he asked her if she had shaved. She felt shy, so she said that she had never shaved in her life and always had smooth skin. Our hero could not stop himself any further, so he decided to seal the deal with Missu and make her his own for good. After a shady session, Ran got done with what he had to do, and Missu's familiar level got maxed out. She was very happy with what just happened, and Ran could only say that what he did felt really good. After they were done with the deed, Ran and Missu decided to explore the place some more, and they came across a really nice view. By this time, Missu had become his proper slave girl, so he decided to give her some work now that he had built a home around here for himself. He told Missu that he wanted her to come to him every night at this place and report to him on how things were going on in the castle. She said yes almost instantly, and she seemed to be happy that she became Ran's first ever familiar. However, our hero told her that she was not his first if he was to look at it technically. This made Missu a bit sad because she did not think that her lover boy would be making moves so quickly. However, he explained to her that he was not with any other girl before her. He then called upon his butterfly named Uchiha and said that it was time for him to introduce the both of them. Missu was amazed to see her, and then Ran explained that he had run off into the garden after he was kicked out by Tereo but realized that he had made an impulsive move. He was all alone in a world that he had never been to before, which meant that he had no friends or anyone to count on. That was when his stomach started to make noises and he decided to look for something to eat. At first, he thought he should have gone to the village to look for food, but the issue was that he knew he was not good at social skills. After all, if he was able to do such a thing, then he would have been able to get along better with his own classmates. As he was about to lose all hope, a butterfly came flying towards him, and he was thankful to see something else that was similar between his own world and this one. The butterfly landed on his hand, but since he touched her because of this, it meant that his powers came into play. Ran was able to use his charm on the butterfly without even knowing it, and he was surprised to see how effective his powers were. Since the butterfly was now in love with our hero, he decided to follow after her to see where she would lead him. After some time, Ran managed to find himself in a forest which was somehow connected to the garden. As he explored the forest, he could find all kinds of fruits and fresh water nearby, which meant that he had an ample amount of food to enjoy over here. Ran did not get how he wound up here in the first place, but then he looked at the butterfly and figured that she had guided him here. This was the power of his shady lunatic skill, which made him realize that it wasn't a bad thing to have such an ability. He then thanked the butterfly because it was his first friend after coming to this place. That was when he decided to call the butterfly a jiha. Then we came back to the present where our hero finished his story and explained to Missu that a jiha was the reason for him to be able to survive in this world. This made her amazed, and she started referring to a jiha as her senpai. Ran was shocked to see such behavior, but then Missu looked at the butterfly and told her that she was happy her master could survive thanks to her. Now that all of the main work was done, our hero told Missu that she should go back to the castle, even though he wanted to spend more time with her. She agreed with him, but she also wanted to know how long Ran was planning to stay here. He revealed that he was thinking about a lot of things, especially because of the way he left out of his own free will after Tereo and the others kicked him out of the castle. He felt that even though he wanted to walk away, there could be a problem with him not being a part of the original Holy Saints squad. It could cause trouble to the kingdom that had summoned them, and then Missu explained that all of the other kids were having a welcome party with food and drinks. She also revealed that one of the normal saints had said that Ran was still under their protection. This got our hero thinking because he was not under any protection at all. This led Missu to believe that she was being lied to, but Ran believed that there was no way for the king to make up such an obvious lie. He realized that maybe the people of the kingdom were thinking of ways to make the lie a truth, but then if that were to be true, then he would need to be careful. Ran then ordered a jiha to patrol the area so that he would know if there was anything shady going on. Ran then started to worry about how the people of this kingdom would take care of him. Could have been that they wanted to keep him in prison or even worse. Anyway, he did not want to share this with Missu, so he thanked her for telling him about the party. However, he also said that there was a lot they did not know about this place, so he was counting on her to tell him all about what would be going on at the castle from the next day onwards. Missu told him that he could safely count on her, and then they agreed to see each other the next day. A few days had passed by since that encounter, and then we could see the other kids in the middle of a class where they were being taught magic. They were being told about how mana could be used at the fingertips, and how there were different kinds of mana for each type of magic. Aichi and the other girls were in this class, but the otaku boy was upset because he did not want to sit here and learn about magic. This was not too different from what they would learn in class back on Earth, but there was nothing he could do about it. Tereo and the others had more battle skills, which was why they did not need to be here. This made Aichi jealous as he also wanted to be a part of that team. Suddenly, the girl named Miko who had the infinite mana skill was able to create a fireball right after learning the lesson. Aichi became very impressed by this, so he told Miko that she was amazing. However, his excitement was very loud, so the teacher told him to be quiet. Next, we were taken to the open field where the battle practice was being held. First up, there was Tereo, who was using his Fang magic to turn into a beast man and attack his targets. He managed to land a deadly blow, but he was not too happy with the results. As a matter of fact, it looked as if he was the one who got the damage and not the other way around. That was when we saw that he was attacking Takeo, who had the defensive power to turn his attack back on him. Tereo was injured and he told Takeo that he had a dope skill, to which he agreed instantly. After all, with a move like Mirror Force, no one would ever be able to hurt him. Such a skill made Takeo very happy, and he even had an evil smile on his face as he could reflect attacks directly. He decided to tease Tereo about this, but he got scared and asked Takeo not to do such things to him. Takeo laughed and told him to chill out as he did not intend on hurting him. He then asked Tereo if he felt bad about kicking out Ran earlier for having shady skills. This made the Beast Boy a bit guilty because he knew he did not do the right thing there. However, Takeo told him that it was good that they kicked out Ran because they did not want to share their girls. Tereo had his eyes on Missu and Takeo wanted Kenami, so they were happy not to have let them get to our hero. Takeo reasoned that it only made sense to take out the bad bugs before they took over the social hierarchy, and Tereo could see why he was saying that. He even believed that he should have been more assertive as he wanted to impress Missu, even though he did not know about the shady things she was doing with our hero over the past few days. Takeo was then asked if he believed he had a shot with Kenami, so he said that he was getting there bit by bit. As the boys were talking about her, we could see Kenami getting busy with her sword skills. She was very intense in her practice because she wanted to do well as a holy saint. Takeo liked her style and her ponytail, so he awakened his intrusive thoughts. Later, both Kenami and Missu were taking a bath together, but Missu had become a slave girl, so she was having intrusive thoughts about Ran. After she cleaned her body, Missu got excited because Ran would mostly spoil her tonight with his shady actions. She became too excited and Kenami could see the look on her face, which made her suspicious. Suddenly, Tereo and Takeo came to the scene and asked the girls what's up. Missu did not care for them because she was too busy having fantasies about her master. Tereo was nervous, but then Takeo told him that he should be more assertive in front of his crush. After hearing him, Tereo decided to step up and ask Missu out for a date. He approached her and said that they could go out for a walk after dinner where they could gaze upon the night sky. He was trying his best to flirt with Missu, but she was only thinking about Ran, so she looked at him with disgust and no interest. Tereo got scared after looking at Missu, so he said that she did not need to come with him if she was not in the mood. Now that the awkward encounter was over, Missu told Kenami that they should leave the area. However, Kenami could sense that something was up because Missu would never behave like that in front of Tereo. Some more time passed by, and after everyone went to sleep, Missu decided to sneak out of the castle looking cute and happy. Of course, Kenami was still awake and spying on her friend, and she suspected that something was up. After all, number one would go to enjoy the night breeze at such a late hour. Kenami kept following Missu and saw that she was going into the forest. This made her even more curious, so she went after her into the forest as she feared that Missu was being controlled by some kind of monster. Soon enough, they reached their destination and Missu threw herself into the arms of her master, while Kenami watched from a secret tree. She could not believe her eyes as she saw Ran holding on to Missu with shady intentions. Kenami recalled that Ran had the skill to make any girl his slave, but she did not think that he would go so far as to use it so carelessly, that too on a girl like Missu. She was disappointed in Ran, but her opinion never mattered in the first place to our hero. After hugging Missu, Ran asked her if she had followed his orders and she said yes with passion. She then made him touch her clothes to prove that she was not wearing anything extra under them, just like he had asked her. Of course, this came as a shocker to Kenami because she did not expect to hear such a thing. Either way, Ran was happy to see that his slave was a good girl. So he sat down and told her to expect something next. She was ready for it because she was getting the same treatment over the past few days as well. As she continued to do shady things with her master, Missu was looked at as a lewd girl by Kenami, as she was not known to be like this ever. Ran gave an evil laugh and enjoyed what he was doing, which made Kenami even more upset because he was doing these things to her best friend. She felt that our hero had fallen into a dark place after getting such a shady skill, and Missu should not be listening to his orders even if she happened to be his slave girl. However, she was shocked to see that Missu would get excited upon completing the orders given to her by the boy she liked. Obviously, Ran did not have a problem with this, but Kenami did because she thought this was some kind of weird game. Ran went into demon mode and Missu found it amazing, but Kenami felt that they were doing impure things. Since she was a member of the discipline committee back in school, she could not let this simply slide. However, she felt that things could get worse if she came in between their passion now, so she decided to wait for them to finish their games. Sadly for her, the couple went on for 2 hours and did a lot of shady things to each other. Kenami was relieved to see that they were done with, and even Ran told Missu that he could not do anything more. He suggested that she should go back to the castle, but Missu wanted to be a bad girl, so she asked her master for one more time. He told her that his elephant could not stand up any further, so they had to end it for now. Kenami thought they were some kind of couple in love who were doing a lot of shady things, but Missu had a solution for the problem they were facing. She awakened her Schwartz energy and emitted a huge glow that brought every single thing back to life, whether it was the wilting plants or her master's elephant. It did not take long for her to bring little Ran back to life, and she celebrated her victory. She commented on how she could make him stand again, and he was happy to have been re-energized. He told her that her skill was amazing and they could do it one more time now. Kenami did not believe what she was seeing because people did not go for so many rounds as per what she had learned. Some more time passed by, and then Ran was done with Missu for good. He was about to bid her farewell as she prepared to leave for the castle, but then Uchiha came flying in. She told our hero that there was someone around the area, so he panicked and became alert. He looked around to find the imposter, so Kenami decided to show herself by walking out of the tree. She said that she could not show herself earlier, but now she wanted to ask Ran a question. Basically, she wanted to know what his intentions were with Missu. She was not ready to forgive our hero because his indecent acts could not be forgiven by the disciple committee. He tried to make a case for himself, but Kenami said that he would not be able to escape from her. She also felt that he would not have been able to make Missu his slave if he had not used force. Kenami was only looking at Ran as the villain, and she wanted to use her powers to help Missu, even though our hero was trying to explain to her that there was a misunderstanding. He also said that he would never do things that girls would hate, but this would only anger Kenami a bit more. She said that Missu would never want to have taken his skills in the first place, but then Ran asked her if she wanted him to cancel his spell on her. She said that she did not have the time for any more useless questions because she had the skills to get the job done as well. She stated that if her own method did not work, then she would force Ran to cancel his spell on Missu, even if he did not like it. Our hero liked her anger and said that he would much rather have one more familiar, which meant that he was now trying to target Kenami as well. Kenami did not think that he could do that to her, because in order for Ran's powers to work, he would need to touch the subject of his spell. Our hero knew this was going to happen, but he was not sure if he could pull this off on his own. After all, his enemy was not some simple girl like Missu, as she had battle skills and was a serious fighter. He also realized that Kenami was just his classmate not more than a few days ago. There was no way he was going to let her end him like this because he had a lot more living to do. However, before he could think of a way to fight her, she managed to land a strike on him that took off one of his buttons. Our hero could not understand what was happening to him, But then Kenami said that she could show him the difference in their skills without having to hurt him. Ran decided to run away from the scene and he hid behind a tree to get some kind of rest. He wanted to know the powers that Kenami was using on him, but even as he was behind the tree, his tie got cut off with a slash attack. Ran could not believe that Kenami was able to pull off such a move in front of him, but he was not going to give up so soon. He asked her if she was using a slash bend attack, but she told him it was not as easy as that. She said that her skill was that of a sword which could divide fate, thus making her a fate divider. She proudly proclaimed it to be her skill, but our hero was able to figure out what her true powers were. He walked out of the tree and looked Kenami in the eyes with no kind of amazement. It was almost as if he was disappointed in her for not being more impressive. He even asked her if that was all she had to offer, and this made her very upset. She could not get why he was being so calm when she had the power to change the fate and affect logic of striking a tree with a sword without even making it hit. However, what Kenami did not realize was that this was Ran's secret ploy to distract her. He then summoned a Jiha to come and blind her some more, after which she became very scared. This was good for our hero because he needed the extra time from his butterfly slave. He thanked a Jiha and then went for the finisher blow by using his hands and their grip to touch Kenami and bring her under his spell. She was asking him why he was touching her like this and she wanted him to stop, but it only took a few seconds for the spell to work on her. As soon as the shady lunatic attack took over her body, Kenami started looking at our hero with love in her eyes. She tried to resist the spell by pushing him aside and saying that she was saying the wrong thing. However, her body could not lie to her and she could feel a lot of physical love towards Ran. Kenami herself did not know what she was feeling at the time, and soon enough, she realized that she was also falling in love with the man she wanted to end. Kenami continued to think that Ran had immoral skills and was a shady boy, but for some reason, she could not help her feelings for him. She felt it was very confusing to fall in love with someone while in another world, but she liked him. The confusion in her heart was too much for her to take, so she eventually told Ran that she liked him. Our hero liked that she was being straight with him, and she said that she hated being bent. She did not like to lie to her feelings, so she asked Ran what she should do then. Our hero was pleased to hear this, so he decided to make Kenami his familiar. With that, he sealed the deal so Kenami wondered if she got it wrong about our hero in the first place. He then gave her the guarantee that he was not the type to hate girls. That made her figure that Ran was being serious with her. Even though he had the skill to trick others with his powers, he was still not going to hate any girls. Anyway, it was not like she could do anything about it at all, so she gave in to her temptation. Now that they got done with the formalities, it was time for Kenami to do her duty towards our hero, just like Missu had done. He asked her if she was fine with this, but the look on her face stated that she was more than willing to do it. However, she did not realize how she was to act as a slave girl, but she brought out her sword and started to chant a spell to make Ran finish without even doing anything to him. However, he did not want to be treated that way, so he told her not to do it. Kenami did not get what he meant because she thought she should use the powers that have been given to her in this world. Of course, Ran said that there was no such flow to shady activities and intrusive thoughts. A man would never be happy if he was treated in such a way, so Kenami would need to do it the right way to please her master. He even explained that the final result did not matter, but rather the process, so Kenami finally saw sense into what he was saying. She said that in the time that she had come here, she had forgotten about the important things in life. She also said that she had never done such shady things before, so she would need the right kind of guidance to get the job done. Our hero knew what he had to do, so he took a seat and told his new slave girl to come and sit next to him. She did as her master told her to, and she got too close to him for his own liking. This allowed him to order her around as he liked. As expected, they began acting on their intrusive thoughts, and it was a lot of fun for Ran. As they got more intrusive with each other, Ran made sure to have Kenami sit down with him, and then they began an intense session for the night. After getting his job done, Ran could see that Kenami's familiar level was maxed out, just like Missu. Kenami loved it so much that she wanted to do it forever, but the problem was that it would not be possible if our hero was not in the castle. He obviously knew that he could not come back to the castle, especially after what he did in front of Tereo. Kenami said that it would not make sense for him to keep hiding, as he would be found out sooner or later. It had made more sense for him to join the Holy Saints and fight the Demon King together with them. However, he knew that he could be thrown out on the way, so it was not the most ideal situation. Kenami could not believe that the others would do such a thing to him, but he knew that Tereo and the boys would betray him if push came to shove. After all, the reason he was hiding here was because they kicked him out of the class in the first place. Ran then asked Kenami if she would stand up for him, and she said yes without a doubt. She even said that Missu would do the same for him, so he had some numbers on his side. Keeping this in mind, Ran figured that he could make his way back into the class if he simply got more girls to vote for him. Kenami figured his plan and became shocked, but he was adamant that he would make all the girls in the class his slaves. This would make the majority support him, and then he could come back to the castle without having to create a scene. Of course, this made Kenami a bit jealous, because this meant that she would have to share him with all the girls in their class. She tried to say no to this and used the excuse of the moral committee, but he told her that this was the only way for him to survive. In the middle of these words, our hero got excited again and ended up having one more session with Kenami. Later, we got a summary of the students who were summoned to fight the Demon Lord. They were 20 in number and had received a lot of strength due to the summoning process. As a matter of fact, it was believed that each student had the power of 1,000 men in them. These words were being said by an old man named Pluton, who was reporting to his queen. He said that each of the students were being trained so that they could become stronger and fight the Demon Lord with success. They did not find their target yet, but will continue to look for him till they locate him and defeat him. Recently, the kids were found to have been looking for the traces of the Demon Lord, and then we could see that the Queen Pluton was speaking to was an elf girl. She was very upset to hear this, so she told Pluton to hurry up and find the Demon Lord himself, as she wanted to beat him. We learned that she was the Queen of the Nocturne Kingdom and her name was Rebecca. Pluton happened to be her Minister of Finance, so he warned the Queen that if they were to fight against the Demon Lord right now, then they would not be able to put up much of a fight. Rebecca felt that the Demon Lord had failed in his previous plan, so if everyone had put all their strength in, then it should not have been difficult to defeat him. However, there was also the fact that the 20 kids summoned to this world were not there the last time, so the chances of beating the Demon Lord were higher now. The Queen was shocked to learn this, and she said that there was no need to strengthen their own squad. Pluton did not follow what she was saying, but then he saw the Minister of Defense stepping into the scene. His name was Warkins, and he looked like the kind of man who would turn into a villain later on. He looked at Pluton with disdain and mocked him for not having any other kind of plan to counter the Demon Lord. Pluton wanted to answer back, but Queen Rebecca said that if he did not have anything else to say, then he could leave. He said no, but there was something deep down in his heart that he was hiding from her. He obviously could not say it out loud because he had messed up with the summoning. Basically, he wanted to give Ran the skill called Absolute Creation, but instead of that, he ended up giving him the Shady Lunatic skill, which was a huge error on his part. Of course, he did not tell anyone about this error, because the kingdom could not afford to have such a problem at hand. Pluton needed to get rid of Ran's powers as soon as possible, so that things could go back to normal. Since both Warkins and the Queen did not know about this, they simply looked at Pluton as if he was being slow. He regretted his actions as he was the most trusted man of the king, and yet he had to keep something like this hidden from him. He also knew that Warkins would not spare him if he found out about his mistake. He even considered bribing him with pearls and a dango. However, before any other thoughts could be heard, Rebecca dismissed the meeting. She said that she needed to have a talk with the saints, so she wanted to bring in the reps for the same. While this was happening, we got shifted to the Kingdom's cafe where everyone was having a nice meal. Missu also picked up her dinner and was feeling great about meeting Ran again. She saw Kenami, who was also thinking about her new master, so she asked if she could sit down next to her. Missu could sense that something was up with Kenami, as she did not know about what Ran had done to her after she left the previous night. She asked Kenami why she was blushing so much, and she finally admitted to doing shady things with our hero. This shocked Missu like the worst news in the world, so she got from her table and caused a scene. Everyone else in the cafe was looking at her, and they asked what was wrong. Kenami managed to calm the situation down for everyone, but Missu was still reeling from the fact that Ran was able to move on so easily from her. Kenami told her to come back to her senses because this was not the way to behave in public. Suddenly, one of the cat-maid girls showed up and asked for any reps in attendance. The queen was calling for them, so it caught the attention of the schoolgirls. It had to be something important if it was the queen calling for the reps, so Takeo decided to go and see what it was about. Normally, Tereo would have also gone for this, but he was still not over the fact that Missu openly rejected him in front of everyone. Takeo decided to go in his stead, but also told him to relax after what happened the other day. Of course, the queen also wanted one girl, so the cat maid asked the vice chairman Reika to join in. However, she was too keen on drinking her tea, so she could not be bothered by such a request. This annoyed Takeo, but he needed someone else to come with him. He turned to Kenami and asked if she would be able to come along for the meeting, so she said yes. She knew that Tereo was upset because of the way Missu rejected him yesterday. If she could keep her calm, then she would be able to get through the meeting. After all, she had to stand for her class if Tereo could not. The problem though was Missu, as she was still reeling from the fact that her master cheated on her. Kenami figured that she would have to talk to Ran about his intrusive thoughts later. She did not want to leave Missu alone, but she had to do what needed to be done. This was great for Takeo as he was finally getting some alone time with his crush. However, before they could leave, there was one voice calling out to them out of jealousy. It was none other than Aichi, who was feeling left out after the pretty girl and handsome boy decided to be reps. He did not like that the high-class people were going, and he basically wanted to be a rep of the otaku group. Of course, he was told not to go about repping himself as that would be too embarrassing. Kenami did not want Aichi to feel left out, so she allowed him to come with her, but she did not even know his name, so she called him Glasses. This made Aichi very happy, and he struck a hero pose once again to show that his appraisal skill was very important. Of course, no one else was feeling the same way about it, especially Takeo, who now had a third wheel to deal with. The cat-maid girl could not deal with this awkward silence, so she decided to take the reps to meet with Queen Rebecca. They were brought to the entrance, which was massive, but the cat-maid said that there was no need to be so surprised. Kenami was done with waiting, so she decided to enter the room as soon as possible. Aichi found this odd because he was still a bit nervous about meeting the queen. Either way, Kenami could feel something odd as she entered the room, and soon enough, they were face to face with the queen of the kingdom. Rebecca went on to introduce herself and struck a proud pose, but the other kids were a bit taken aback to see that she had such a small figure. Anyway, they did not want to be rude, so Kenami, Takeo, and Aichi introduced themselves to her. However, Rebecca told them such info was not needed as she did not find it to be useful. She revealed that she was the one who decided to summon them here in the first place, as she wanted to defeat the demon lord as soon as possible. Basically, the queen just wanted to see the faces of the people she summoned, and this made both Takeo and Kenami a bit upset. However, Aichi had his own intrusive thoughts going on in his head as he declared that the queen was nothing more than a lowly elf girl. He found it odd that an elf girl would rule over a human kingdom, but there were maids that did look like elves, so it should not have been much of a surprise. Of course, Aichi wanted to see the truth for himself, so he decided to use appraisal scan on the queen in front of everyone. To his surprise, nothing happened at all, and Rebecca was just looking at him with a blank face. Pluton showed up and called out Aichi for trying to use his shady scan on the queen, so he said sorry for his actions. Pluton then explained that when people were in the royal castle room, their abilities would be sealed, so there would be no risk of any attacks. He further reasoned that if they did not do this, then the kingdom would have been under grave danger. He also looked at Aichi and asked him if he wanted to start a riot, so he simply gave a nervous expression. Kenami then realized that the feeling she had when they entered was none other than the feeling of her skills getting sealed. It did not matter to her either way, because she needed her sword to be able to use her skills. At that moment, Rebecca told Pluton not to fret over such things, and then she asked the reps to talk to her. She was ready to answer any of their questions as she was the one who summoned them here in the first place. Aichi took this chance and instantly asked her if she was from the royal family, which was a rude thing to ask. Takeo told him not to be mean, but the queen was happy to answer his question. She said that before a curse was put on the king, something big had happened in the kingdom. Basically, she had met the king and it was love at first sight, but both Takeo and Aichi found that a bit creepy because she is a lowly girl. Rebecca did not care about any of that, as the king was in no condition to be seen anymore due to the curse. She loved her husband, which was why she wanted the team to get rid of the curse as soon as possible. This gave all the reps some perspective, and as they made their way out of the room, Aichi became a bit too emotional. He told Kenami that ever since they came to this world, he did not want to fight any demon lord. However, after hearing the queen's story, he was more pumped to get the job done for her. Kenami agreed with him, but Takeo told them both not to be so naive. The main point was that the queen told them that she could send all of the school kids back home if they beat the demon lord, so Takeo was hoping she was telling the truth. Kenami knew that Takeo was only saying this to sound cool, so she teased him about liking the queen. He of course denied it, but he did blush, which meant that there was some truth to Kenami's beliefs. Now, they decided to go back to their own dorms and talk to everyone about what they just heard. Takeo would tell all the boys and Kenami would tell all the girls. Aichi also tried to act cool, but Takeo did not like his attitude at all, so he looked at him with anger. The next day, Kenami went for some training and she met her master, who seemed to be a nice guy. She said sorry for being late, but he did not have a problem with that at all. However, the game was only starting as Workins also came to the scene with a smug look on his face. Kenami asked him if he had any business with her, but he said he only wanted to take a look at the processes in place over here. After all, he had reason to believe that they could be dangerous for the holy saints. He also said that he would offer help to Kenami if she was trying to hide, but this made her think that he was a shady man. She turned to her master to check if Workins was a legit person, and he said yes. Kenami was still skeptical about the whole thing, so she said that she did not know who Workins was. However, he sneakily went up to her and said that he had something to do with Ran. What exactly did Workins want with our hero? Will he expose his hiding spot? And how many more girls is Ran going to add to his harem? Like, share, and subscribe if you want me to continue the story. Show this video some love and I'll upload part 2 as soon as possible. Okay then, see you in the